I walked into my dad's old cabin expecting dust and silence, and instead a woman screamed at me to call security on my own property. My heart dropped. She accused me of trespassing while 20 strangers sat cross-legged on the floor, clutching my father's fishing gear like sacred relics. In that instant, I realized something was deeply, dangerously wrong. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Owen Hayes. I'm 36, I work in cybersecurity, and I inherited this lakeside cabin after my dad passed away. For 18 months, I couldn't set foot there, too much grief, too many memories of fishing trips and long talks on the porch. But when I finally gathered the courage to come back, I stepped into a nightmare. The woman screaming at me introduced herself as Nicole Wright. Mid-40s, sharp blonde bob, flowing linen outfit that made her look like some kind of guru. But the real kicker, she was holding a clipboard barking into a radio like she was running a military operation. Around us, women in designer yoga clothes swayed and hummed while clinging to my dad's old tackle box and rods. Nicole didn't just act like she belonged there, she announced with complete authority that I was disrupting a sacred fisherman ceremony. She snapped her fingers at 2 security guys with earpieces who moved toward me like bouncers. I pulled out my keys, waved them, and yelled, "This is my cabin." She didn't blink. Instead, she rattled off some nonsense about Community Wellness Property Management Ordinance 847B, a fake law I'd never heard of. Then she shoved paperwork in my face, complete with seals and signatures that looked real enough to fool half the county. Neighbors were outside nodding along like they believed her. And for a second, even I started doubting myself. Had I missed some law? Could my absence really have given this HOA president the right to take over my dad's property? I left that day shaking with rage. But before I walked out, I did what I do best. I hit record on my phone. If she thought she could gaslight me in my own cabin, I'd make sure the world saw exactly what was happening. Act 2. Escalation and Turning Point. That night, Tom Bradley, a retired cop who'd known my dad for years, caught me in the driveway. He leaned in, whispering like we were under surveillance. "Owen, you need to know what's been going on. Nicole's been at this for a year. She convinced folks you abandoned the cabin, that your dad wanted it used for healing. She's been building her army." My gut twisted. This wasn't just trespassing, it was a hostile takeover. So I dug in using my cybersecurity skills. And what I found online made my blood run cold. Nicole had a polished website, Mountain Serenity Ancestral Retreats. Right there, front-page photos of my dad's gear labeled as spiritual artifacts. A booking system offering fisherman bloodline healing for $25,000 a session. Future events lined up for months. And get this, her next client was Brooke Sterling, a lifestyle influencer with 50,000 followers. Nicole planned to film her transformation in my cabin for viral content. I wanted to scream. My father's memory, my grief packaged and sold as entertainment. Then my lawyer Jake Morrison called with worse news. Nicole had filed for a restraining order against me, the actual owner. She painted me as unstable, dangerous, traumatized. She came to court with a binder so thick it could choke a horse. Fake police reports, staged photos, coached testimonies. And the judge, overwhelmed by her so-called professional credentials, banned me from stepping within 500 feet of my own cabin. That was the moment I broke. Sitting in my car after court hands shaking on the steering wheel, I asked myself if it was worth it. Maybe Nicole was right. Maybe I had abandoned the place. Maybe I should sell the land, cut my losses, let her keep her circus. I felt pathetic, like a stranger in my own life. But then I remembered my dad, a plain-spoken fisherman who worked his whole life so I could have something solid to hold on to. Would he want me to roll over for a fraud in a linen dress? Hell no. So I fought back. Brooke Sterling's influencer retreat gave me an idea. I used Jake's contacts to get press credentials slipped into the crew as a camera assistant. I learned just enough jargon to pass Aperture ISO frame rate. And there I was, standing inside my father's cabin again, this time disguised as part of Nicole's show. She strutted around, draping herself in my dad's old jacket, channeling ancestral fisherman wisdom. Clients swooned, cameras rolled, She was charging $25,000 to pretend she could hear my father's spirit. And then came the slip-up. During a break, I overheard her bragging to one of the crew. Dead people make perfect spiritual partners, they never complain, and their families are too grief-stricken to fight back. I got it on tape, every word. When I showed Brooke the recording, she didn't freak out, she smiled. This'll go viral. Her influencer instincts kicked in. She grabbed her phone, went live to 50,000 followers and announced, "Guys, I just discovered I'm being scammed by a fake healer using a dead man's stuff without his family's permission." The internet exploded. Comments flooded in outrage, mockery, people digging into Nicole's past in real time. And what they found blew the story wide open. Nicole Wright wasn't Nicole Wright at all. She was Rebecca Santos, a disgraced therapist stripped of her license for exploiting grieving families, and her assistant, Crystal Moon. Her real name was Jennifer Santos, Nicole's sister, with a record for fraud and identity theft. The mask was slipping, and the world was watching. Act 3, The Showdown in Justice. Nicole panicked, trying to spin the narrative. She pointed at me on the live stream, shouting, "This man is violating court orders. He's stalking me during a sacred ceremony." But it was too late. The optics were terrible. She looked like a fraud screeching for help while standing in someone else's cabin, profiting off their grief. Viewers weren't buying it. Neither were the authorities. Within hours, state investigators swooped in. Turns out Nicole had been on their radar for unlicensed business activity. Now, with viral proof and witness testimonies pouring in, they had the green light to act. And her sister cracked. Facing federal charges. Jennifer flipped, spilling everything. How Nicole scouted obituary notices, manipulated families, forged documents, built fake legal frameworks, even planted her own recovering addict persona to spy on me. She gave the feds a roadmap to the entire network. Nicole fought dirty till the end. She threatened to leak my divorce records, therapy notes, financial struggles, anything to humiliate me into silence. And for a second I felt that same old shame creeping back. But this time I wasn't alone. I dumped every piece of digital evidence I had online, her fake reviews, financial ledgers, victim testimonies, proof of multi-state fraud. The court of public opinion turned into a firing squad. By the time Nicole stepped into federal court, she wasn't a spiritual leader. She was a con artist with a rap sheet a mile long. Prosecutors tore through her fake ordinances, her blackmail, her fabricated restraining orders. Her allies melted away. Even the corrupt county commissioner who'd protected her confessed once he realized her downfall was inevitable. And then came the sentence, 8 years in federal prison, $300,000 in restitution. I'll never forget watching her face as the gavel came down. All that smug confidence, all those staged smiles, it evaporated in an instant. She wasn't a guru. She wasn't a leader. She was just another predator who thought grief made people easy prey. And in that moment, seeing her led out in cuffs, I finally felt like my dad's cabin was safe again. Closing line. Evil thrives when people stay silent, but the moment you fight back, even the biggest frauds collapse under their own lies.